Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being able to join here, and to all the new members, we so appreciate your being a part of this group. We need the input and the ideas, your perspectives, and all of that. We also are very grateful for the city staff who are supporting us and will help to guide us as we move forward in this changing environment that we're in as a city commission. Based on the number of people who are here and the total number, I think we have a quorum, which would be one more than half, and we have, I think, 11 out of 12 members now. So I guess we are able to go forward with the meeting as planned. And what we wanted to do first was to make sure that everybody had a time to introduce themselves, since some of us are new to each other, and certainly it's been a long time since we've been able to meet. I think it was last August of a year ago when we had our last meeting. So, we haven't seen a lot of each other for quite a while. So perhaps we can start, I'll start, and then we go to Kate, and then we'll just, have you all jump in one at a time, just like your name, who you represent in terms of who appointed you, or what group you're representing as far as a category like artist or something, and what your interest is in this, and like a minute or so at the most, so we can keep moving and not get behind. I'm Ann Keller, the chair of the Riverfront Commission, and I was appointed or nominated by Riverlink. So that's my source of getting on this commission. I have a strong background in environmental science and water quality and stuff from my past experience in working. I'm retired now, and I am very happy to be involved with all of you, and hope that we can make some good changes and additions to things this year. Kate?
Great. Thanks, Ann. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the new members. Really appreciate you stepping up, and looking forward to serving with you all. I'm a vice chair. I've been vice chair of the commission now for, 2 years, maybe 3. I'm not sure. But anyways, love serving with Ann. I'm a landscape architect and founding partner at Living Roofs Inc., which is a design and construction company focused on landscape on structure and vegetated roofs. So I am very interested in resilient infrastructure, stormwater. That's sort of the hat that I often wear on this commission. And I also serve on the City of Asheville Design Review Committee. Although I am rotating off, I'm still serving until the new appointments are made.
Thank you, Kate. How about we go to Maggie?
Hey, everybody. My name is Maggie Ullman, and I am one of your 7 city council folks, or 6 city council, 1 mayor. And I'm the liaison from city council to this board and a voting member. And I love our rivers, and I love the community and city we've built around our rivers. And I think having a focus that really looks at the interplay of our economy and community and culture and natural environmental concerns around the rivers is just a really special thing to do, and glad to be part of it with y'all.
Thank you, Maggie. Carl
Kuhn, own 4 parcels in the Biltmore Village area, SIBO appointee, previously served, I think, about 9 years when it was the Asheville area Riverfront Redevelopment Commission.
Mm-hmm.
Currently serving on the County Planning Board and the Asheville-Buncombe Air Quality Agency. Had 14 years on the Asheville Planning and Zoning Commission. So I thought I needed to get back on the river board, since I'm dealing with the land with the county, the air with the air agency. So I needed water to round it out.
Thank you, Carl. That's good. Joe, are you back on?
I am.
Okay.
Thanks, Ann. Yeah, My name is Joe Balkin, co-owner of Wrongway River Lodge and Cabins over on Amboy Road, the A-frames on stilts. I'm also a member of Unified RAD, which is a new coalition of stakeholders in the River Arts District that was formed post-Helene. As far as the river is concerned, I've been a river enthusiast all my life. I was a whitewater rafting guide in a former life, and then obviously have a business in the river corridor. So, professionally and personally, I love the river. Besides being on this commission, which, geez, I think it's been 3 years now. I'm a city appointee, and I was recently appointed to the Infrastructure Recovery Board and Design Review Committee. So those will be new roles for me. I haven't participated in those yet, but also serve in that capacity.
Yep, you will be busy. Thanks a lot for all of that, Joe.
Of course.
Ashley.
Hi, good morning. My name's Ashley Greenstein. I'm representing Explore Asheville. My background is actually in urban planning. I was a transportation and land use planner for 8 years before moving to Asheville. And my current role is public information manager. I balance media relations, public affairs, and community relations. This is my second meeting, and since Helene to now, I have taken the torch from Steph Monsendahl and been hosting a comps planning working group around the French Broad River, bringing in advocates, like our environmental advocates, business owners, the city, the county, MSD, and FEMA to talk of just kind of be on the same page of when some of the amenities or access points were opening, and then also talk more largely about resident and visitor sentiment around the river. Happy to pass those notes along. We've had 3 meetings. We'll have one more before the end of the year.
Thank you. That's great. Thanks, Ashley. How about you, David?
Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Great. My name is David Taylor. I am a resident of the River Arts District. I live right behind Glen Rock Depot. Professionally, I'm a pharmacist. I'm the chief pharmacy officer for Appalachian Mountain Health, which is a nonprofit. We have a couple locations nearby the River Arts District on the South Slope, but that's not really relevant to my being on this board. I live and work and play. Love the River Arts District. I've been there for almost 15 years now. I've been on this board for 2 years, even though the last year has been somewhat silent. I'm looking forward to what we can do here. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Let's see. How about Daniel?
Hey, good morning. I'm Daniel McClendon. I'm an artist. My studio is the Live Studios on Depot Street. I've been here for 14 years. Been in the arts district for 16, 17 maybe. I'm also property owner, so I kind of have a double interest in this meeting, but largely from the artist perspective, and I'm happy to contribute and be a part of this.
Thank you. Thank you. Eddie. Eddie, are you there? Oh, there you are. No?
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry, y'all.
Okay.
My name's Eddie Dewey, and I'm a property owner in the River Arts District, as well as Biltmore Village, and have a handful of properties, and we're primarily home to artists, but also other businesses, locally owned and operating business in the River Arts District. What else? Post-flood, it's been 15 years since I've sat on a commission or a committee in Asheville. I was highly involved before starting a family and having 3 kids, and just post-flood felt like it was time to jump in and be a part of the rebuilding. And I love all things river. I love all things artist. I was a outdoor educator for 7 years before I landed in Asheville with hiking boots and a guitar, and found myself in the real estate and adaptive reuse development business. And I've helped consulting with Riverlink on some of the real estate stuff, and I've also recently been added to the design review committee by the city council. So looking forward to my service here and learning a lot about this commission, and hopefully adding some expertise and some help to all things Asheville and all things.
Thank you, Eddie. That's great. Everybody is so well, I don't know, prepared for this. Johanna, I'm not sure if you can say anything, can you? Or are you tied up?
No, I'm not tied up, but I'm
Okay.
not in a position where I can put the video on. But
Okay.
hi all. So I'm Johanna Young, and I am the liaison for Woodfin. I'm on Woodfin Town Council. I've been there for 2 years, and I guess with y'all for 2 years. My ultimate interest is protecting the river. Woodfin has, I believe, the most miles of the French Broad within its jurisdiction. So that's a special interest of ours. Ours is mostly recreational, but we are hoping that that might change over time. I've been here for 35 years, mostly minus 4 years. And I guess the majority of my experience is much like Ann's. It was water quality.
Thank you, Johanna. And at the other end of our region, so we got the north end, now we got the east, I guess, end. Ann Phillip, please, from Black Mountain.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ann Phillip. I'm the Stormwater and Floodplain Administrator for the town of Black Mountain. And a lot of my work is regulatory and compliance based. So initially, I was brought on to administer the town's national pollution discharge illumination system permit, the NPDES permit. I still do that. I'm also now the floodplain administrator, which means that I do a lot of plan review and talking to people about how to follow our flood damage prevention ordinance and build in the floodplain, especially post-Helene. There have been a lot of other responsibilities along with that, such as substantial damage assessment and talking to people about how they can rebuild or if they can rebuild. Still doing a lot of plan review for stormwater as well. I am happy to be on this commission because obviously everything's connected. We're a little higher up in the watershed. I am one person, and so it's nice to connect to a group where maybe we can amplify each other's work or build on each other's work. We do, as you know, certainly as part of a requirement of the NPDES permit, but just because it's the right thing to do, we do a lot of education and outreach, hold workshops for our residents, a lot of times partnering with local nonprofits to do those workshops, or NCSU extension for stream bank restoration. And especially post-Helene, looking for different opportunities to offer to our residents, whether it's educational, informational. So if you hear of anything and we can share those types of things through here, that would be great. But basically, I'm just hoping to be a facilitator and a resource for the town of Black Mountain and hopefully for the larger area as well. But like I say, my main job and focus is compliance and making sure we're doing everything according to the rules that are in place, you know, from FEMA and the NFIP and the NPDES permit and all the way down. So I'm kind of in a unique position there where I have a lot of rules to follow and I have to explain those rules. So looking forward to working with you all and hearing about how things are changing with the recovery boards and everything like that. So thank you for everything all of you do, and I appreciate working with you.
Thank you, Ann. It is quite amazing that all of you are on this board and or commission and willing to give your time in addition to everything else you're doing. Some of you are doing more than anybody could even imagine doing. So I understand that it's a challenge. As we'll learn, for the moment anyway, we won't be meeting as often as we used to meet because we'll be working around and subsequent to activities related to the recovery board process. I think Kate is on a recovery board infrastructure. I'm on the economy recovery board. Joe is on, I think, infrastructure. Is anyone else appointed to any of the other recovery boards? I was trying to look at the list. Okay, well, I think we have a lot to learn and we'll get a great presentation from Steph in a bit, but what we thought would be helpful.
Hey, Anne, real fast, I have a
Yeah.
question about that. So I think the commission, it has 2 representatives from the commission. So Joe, did you apply as a,
Yes,
okay, got it.
he applied. Yes.
Okay.
Kate and I were appointed because we're chair and vice chair and we thought that we could feed into this group. And, you know, economy and infrastructure are very important to the river and to the city. And it made sense to us to join those 2 committees, commissions, and I mean, boards. And that's what the city did. They appointed us to them. So thank you, Kate. And Joe applied elsewise because he doesn't
Yeah.
have enough to do otherwise.
Well, I will say that, you know, it's not informal terms, but I applied as a representative of Unified Rad, so that will be
That's
kind of my
great.
focus on that recovery board.
That's great. Good. I think on the economy board, I saw Jeffrey Burrows and Katie and Amy also, and then other people that I don't know yet, but that'll be a really good group of people, I think, too. We thought it'd be good, as I mentioned, to bring us back to the mission of this organization and a little bit of, you know, what we did last year, or, you know, in the past. We didn't do anything in this last year, but in 2024, we did take on some new activities. And so the mission is really is up there on the screen. It is to really work with let's see, what would we call it? I guess the riverfront and development, public resource management, protecting the river, both in the regional riverfront community and in the riverfront district. And those are 2. The district is more of Asheville's purview. The regional riverfront includes a broader area through the county, you know, like from Woodfin all the way over to Black Mountain. And we were asked to, and we started in 2009. If I remember right, Stephanie was a member of the staff that was helping at that point, right before the Asheville River Arts District got redone, you know, through funding and support, both federal, state, and local. That's where things really took off for the redesign and so forth. So it's been around since 2009. We redid our bylaws in 2023. And so the new ones you see were approved by the city council at the end of 2023. And added in a member from Swannanoa, Amy, who's not here right now because of a family challenge, and Ann Phillip from Black Mountain, as well as trying to help us get a broader perspective. As Ann said, everything's connected. We all know that. Looking at this more broadly than just within the city of Asheville or whatever made a lot of sense. So those were some of the things we were thinking about when we revised the, at that point, as Carl said, Asheville Area Riverfront Redevelopment Commission to the Asheville-Buncombe Riverfront Commission. So that's kind of the history. And what we did was we set up in 2024, 3 priority groups that somebody, you know, all the members were on one or another of these. The first one was to review the comp plans for the city, Black Mountain, Woodfin, and Buncombe County, looking for overlapping areas that might support us collaborating more and looking for ways that the whole region could act on things. and noting if we had any conflicts across the board. I think we found that all the plans included concerns about new development on the river, how to make it more resilient, protecting natural lands, the need for more affordable housing, and to support economic development that benefits the region. So again, we were looking a little more broadly than perhaps had been, and the comp plans from each of these communities seem to have the same approach. Regional resilience was a common challenge, and we began discussing how we could bring together elected officials that represented each of these communities and have a meeting. What we thought we were going to have a meeting in February or March to share information, to help them get to know each other a little bit, and to look for ways we could work together. Of course, Helene came in and, you know, kind of interfered with that, and we haven't gotten back to that. I don't know if we will, but I'll say this. I think there's so many different groups collaborating right now across the city and the county and the region that it might not be that we need to. What we probably need to do is pay attention to what they're doing and have discussions about those as we can. And that maybe we can get some help from city staff and other folks in that regard. The second group was to review the Wilma-Dykeman Riverway Plan and other greenways plans that affect the river, both French Broad and Swannanoa, looking for achievements and things that needed updates and so forth. And that was also done. There were, the group looked at the plan, which is pretty old now, but has, you know, needed maybe revising, perhaps it was the idea, and offered recommendations that included more lighting on the greenways, extension of the greenways into the neighborhoods, and potential for a music venue to replace Salvage Station, which of course is going to be taken out or is out now because of the plan for the extension of I-26. So, you know, we want to keep all of that in mind. The Wilma-Dykeman Riverway Plan is one of the basic plans for this region, and it's really so important. The third one was to recommend to city and county appropriate land and transportation development policies down in the riverfront district and the regional riverfront. And that group met a few times and began to talk about how to approach this, such as how to improve the process and usefulness of permitting for permitting submitters like developers, and design review committee and other stakeholders. And a number of the developers and DRC members were consulted and to identify and better understand any opportunities for improvement. So I think that that group was in the thinking mode, trying to get input and trying to imagine how transportation could be improved in the area and design processes could be improved. And I think that, you know, that those are all still, all three of these priorities are still relevant to what our commission is supposed to be doing. And I think that, you know, we'll keep that in mind as we go forward and as we, I don't know, take this new process. I think we might get requests for information and support from infrastructure, from the economy one, and maybe people in the environment. I'm not sure so much about the housing. That might be too, but briefly before we go on, maybe there's any questions or comments that people on these groups wanted to make before we go to Steph's presentation, which I think is going to be really informative. Anybody have any thoughts?
I mean, Ann, this is Joe. I'll talk about, you know, the permitting and the development requirements and what we were looking at. I think in large part that it may not be, at least what we were looking at, as relevant now as it was before the flood, because a lot of that has already changed in some respect and will likely change more. So, you know, I think looking at those processes is a good idea, but the work that we did and the things that we identified is probably not as relevant as it is now.
I think that's perhaps true, Joe, but I also think that this commission will have some insights in things that one or the other of the boards come up with related to development in the RAD and so forth. So I think there's still a lot of expertise here, even though that particular item may be actually bigger now than it perhaps was, but there's more people looking at it. So thank you.
Mhm.
Any other observations? Okay, then we can go right on, I guess, to Stephanie's presentation, which will really bring everybody up to speed if you haven't had the time to follow what City Council approved and how it created these boards and therefore how we may be interacting. So thank you for being here, Steph. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I have one thing to say real fast before
Okay.
we get to Steph. You know, before Helene, this commission was doing a lot of great work and I feel like it was very important and relevant.
Yep.
And now even more so. So I feel like, you know, the work that we were doing pre-Helene has really positioned us to continue to sort of step into this new future and new role. So I'm even though I think, Joe, you're right that maybe it may not be as relevant, but I do think that this is sort of it was a stepping stone to sort of where we are now.
Yeah, I fully expect us to be asked to participate and help with a lot of different things. And I think city staff and county staff understand that working together on these big topics is really important, even more now than it was. So hang on, everybody. Steph?
Thanks so much, Chair and Vice Chair and members of the Asheville-Buncombe Riverfront Commission. My name is Steph Munson-Dahl, and I am the Planning and Urban Design Director for the city. And I know most of you, if you aren't familiar with me, I hope we can connect a little bit more one-on-one in the future. But I'm going to get right into this. And the kind of big picture here is something I think most all of you know pretty well by now, which is in order to really support a strong recovery, the city worked across the elected officials and staff to realign the advisory boards to city council so that they were directly connected to council's biggest priorities. So the 4 recovery boards are people in the environment, housing, infrastructure, and economy. So these next slides are going to help explain to you how you will fit into that larger process. I'll again just say, I know that a lot of you have seen this type of presentation and may know a lot of it. And so I encourage you, if you have specific questions, to just raise your hands during the presentation and we'll get to it. So note that for all of our advisory boards, you guys know we have over 30, maybe 40 advisory boards at just the city of Asheville. There are some boards that are really regularly meeting, and those boards are like Planning and Zoning Commission, the Historic Resources Commission, that legally need to meet to continue their workflows for development review. So next slide. So the recovery boards have 11 members. They operate just basically like the same way that any other advisory board is going to operate. They're going to have a chair and vice chair. They're going to have a staff liaison. The meetings are going to be online. There'll be public comment on those meetings, which is a way that you can participate. They'll have regular schedules. People will be able to access those schedules and all the meeting materials on the internet. And best of all, as I mentioned, they're going to be aligned with the city council's work plans. And we'll get into how those work plans are going to be created in just a second. So you can see here the 2 seats that were dedicated for members of the Asheville-Buncombe Riverfront Commission were on economy and infrastructure. And I'll just note there was a lot of discussion. You all are a very comprehensive board, so there was a lot of discussion around the fact that really the work that you had been charged with doing hits on all of these. So we're acknowledging that. The bottom line was that you're not the only comprehensive board, and we had to figure out as staff how to keep things somewhat consistent. And so the way to do that was to say, meaning like, we're not going to give you 4 appointees and then the Urban Forestry Commission only gets 1. And we just said, everybody's going to get every advisory board's going to get these 2 appointees. And then there's that opportunity for anyone to apply for the other standing seats. So as discussed earlier, you also have Joe Balkin on and Joe, you're on the infrastructure group, I believe. Okay, let's move forward. One other thing I'll say is we can send out some additional materials after this meeting. Anne was noting that she was looking through a list earlier. That list came from this past Tuesday's appointments. And so if you want to take a look to see who all the people are now that the boards have been seating, we'll hand that out. So specifically, the recovery advisory boards are going to be advising council on post-disaster housing stability efforts and all of this for just like housing. This is an example of how we're going to focus on recovery efforts with each one of these with boards. I'm sorry, this is a board that you guys aren't on, but the putting the recovery at the top is really important to us, but we also want to acknowledge that there's other non-recovery housing needs that are, or for housing, that are going to come up that this board may eventually look at in their work plan, but recovery is first. I'm using the sign as an example to just share that. So let's move to the next slide.
And Steph, part of that big part of that reason is that there are funding sources that have timelines and priorities that were given to the city, not given, but awarded to the city and or county in order to take on and do recovery for post-Helene. And I think that's why you're emphasizing the recovery. There's a time frame about that, right?
You are hired, Anne, hired. So that's exactly correct. Recovery is going to come first because we are churning and burning through so many programs, and hopefully you all have seen that not only the city, but the county, other municipalities, we're all working on these repair projects. We have money coming in, we have CDBG-DR dollars to spend, and we've got to put some pressure on that. So we're going to talk specifically about the 2 boards now that you all are having appointees represent you on. The Economy Recovery Board is going to look at rebuilding and revitalizing the local economy, expanding local economic resilience and diversification. That's of like industry types. And also, I mean, that could mean anything from industry types, but also like how we're looking at geographic location of businesses or working from home, all of that kind of stuff. Land management best practices and the use of city-owned properties to promote, I don't love the word placemaking, but placemaking, community vitality, and sustainable long-term growth. What we mean by placemaking is we all love being here physically, and we want to be able to enhance all of the richness that the community has built over time in physical space. The last part of this is supporting workforce development. If you don't know, the city doesn't have a lot of specific workforce development programs. We have a very cool workforce development program called Kayla that is for high school students. That's really a leadership program, but we partner. And so when you're on this Economy Recovery Board or you're listening to their meetings, you're going to see a lot of partnerships as well, working with folks like Land of Sky and the Economic Development Coalition to move forward these regional goals. So these are, again, city council's priorities from the retreat. So they were looking for ways to expand the city's contractor pool to improve our capacity to do recovery, being able to make sure that we're talking and communicating regularly with businesses so that they understand where the resources are, what the opportunities are, and that our small and underrepresented businesses can get to the table and get some of those resources that are needed for recovery. And then just the general navigation of recovery challenges. You all were talking earlier about the development process, navigating regulations, and trying to do some rebuilding is not, it's not easy post-recovery. And navigating where those funding opportunities are because they're coming from all directions is also not easy. So that's the kind of that's the kind of work that this board will be doing aligned with City Council's priorities. Next.
Hey, step real fast on that.
Mhm.
Is that board focused on, I know it's focused on recovery. Is that then also prioritizing more short-term moves or?
It's short, medium. That's a great question. It's short, medium, and long term. So all aspects and timelines of the recovery are going to be considered. We are really moving out of the smallest of those timeframes. So the medium, and what I mean by that is, we have very clearly like a 6 month to a year where we were just looking at stabilizing people and it's triage. Let's, admit that to a certain extent. And now we've got our eyes set on goals and visions that align with our adopted plans, but that are now informed by the storm and council's priorities. So
Okay.
I'm going to use this as a sidebar to also shout out that coming up in November, there is a long-term recovery plan that Buncombe County is putting out there for adoption, and each municipality in the county is going to be adopting or going to be asking their municipal officials, elected officials, to adopt their sections. And what Kate's question, it's really important for you guys to take a look at that plan on the internet. We can send that link out afterwards. And know that those kind of medium and long-term priorities, they're laid out in there. So if you're wondering what some of those economic priorities are, that you'll see them. Also, you're going to see some of those infrastructure priorities about strategic rebuilding of our damaged infrastructure, but looking not only at building back, but building back with more resiliency. We know that our water system is our #1 priority here at the city of Asheville. It's important for basic life needs. It's important for our economy. We're also looking for this board to help us with recommendations on the flood management and stormwater infrastructure pieces that were important to our entire community, but also very important to riverfront spaces. Looking at our parks, greenways, and recreation infrastructure. Hopefully you all have seen the city has done a significant amount of work in the past year to get the ball rolling, to do the design and eventual construction of these kind of improvements in both our French Broad riverfront parks, and then also at the out on the Swannanoa area. That's our recreation park, municipal golf course. All of those assets are really important to our community as well. We're going to need people to lean in on it. So, and then not only will we be doing partnerships for economic development, we're going to need partnerships to look at funding and programming and thought partnership even on all of these pieces in infrastructure as well. Next slide. I am just going to make a note about people and environment and not go through their scope. You can do this on your own. To say that, going to echo back, we know that especially for those of you who are interested in water quality, that this environmental piece is really important. And we're going to talk here in a second about how you can be participating and thinking about what they're working on. So we'll pass through these slides for people and environment and just talk about next steps, which are really underway. So we had a lot of deadlines operationally to get these boards appointed and get them up and running. And everyone did a great job. The appointments were finally made this past Tuesday by City Council, and those boards are going to have their kickoff meeting. That's right. And the boards are going to have their kickoff meeting the first week of November. So they're going to be continuing to meet until the end of the fiscal year in 2027. So about a year and a half. Of course, we're going to be assessing and improving things that entire time. So that's just the big picture overview of what the recovery boards are. Let me just pause and say, like, we're going to now talk about how advisory boards get assignments. Any questions on the recovery boards? Let's go. Let's move then. Okay. So as mentioned, you all are going to be on demand for the next year and a half. And there are opportunities for you to get involved at different levels, both from just a like staying informed level, providing input and feedback level, but also as an advisory board to actually get assigned tasks. And there's both a top-down way and a bottom-up way that that task assignment can happen. And so the top-down way that assignments can happen is basically that City Council identifies that there is a need for you to perform a task, and they go ahead and they direct the board to do that task. They certainly are going to make sure that this is something that's in alignment with what they're already working on. That's going to be the number one way that I think advisory boards would be directly assign a task from council. Next slide. The bottom up way is something that we're relying on you all for. And that is when you in the community recognize that there is an opportunity where you might be able to add value to the completion or the fulfillment of one of City Council's goals, you can have a conversation with Anne and Kate as your leaders, and you can suggest that idea to them, and they can bring it to their respective recovery boards that they're seated on. They can bring it to me as a department director because I have the ability to assign tasks to advisory boards, and they can circulate it to a council committee. So there are, sidebar here, learning moment about how we're doing governing here. City Council also has regular monthly meetings of specific council committees like planning, economic development and the environment, and housing and community development. Those are just two. And they also kind of do deep dives on this kind of work. And you can come and talk during public comment and share some of your concerns or ideas right there with members of City Council. Let's go to Councilperson Ullman.
Yeah, and I'm the chair of the Planning, Economic Development, and Environment Committee meeting, which means I have a lot of leverage over our agenda. So, and I'm a teammate of yours on this, so reach out to me anytime.
Thank you so much, Maggie. All right, so so this is the bottom up way, and what I think I heard you all saying earlier is right on track. And that is that in these next coming months, you all are really in listening, settling in, identification and inventory mode of what all the different priorities are and maybe where your place is in this world as these recovery boards start meeting up. So you're going to find these opportunities in the, in the work that's going to be laid out in the coming months. So just kind of as a recap, you all will stay on demand only unless directed by council or council committee or myself as the department director. And there's a very formal process for us to assign you a task. We would assign you a task. It would be time bound. This is really important. You would receive a written version of the task. It would tell you how long you have, what resources you have, and we kind of negotiate. I've done this once already with the Urban Forestry Commission. And then there is a reporting out. So after the reporting out of the work that you do, then you go back to as needed. You attend, recovery board meetings as a member of the public and to stay engaged until the next time. I will go to the next slide. Okay, so this is the last thing that's not on a slide, but I wanted to share with you before you all have any questions or discussion amongst yourself, is that what comes up the most for a lot of advisory boards is, what about us meeting in small groups or subcommittees? So I want to cover that. So we do not want you officially creating any subcommittees or working groups, because once you have a subcommittee or working group, kind of even officially, if it's not a quorum, we really need to be following open meeting laws. But here's what you can do. You all, I was so impressed by the introductions that you had the first 15 minutes. You all have a lot of overlapping work. Is it okay for you guys to get together and have coffee and talk about water quality? It absolutely is. And as long as there are, I'm just going to give you a guideline. This is not your quorum, but I'm going to just say as a guideline, I'd say, as long as there's like 5 of you or less that are getting together and having conversations and sharing information with each other, that is absolutely fine. Most of you have been on city boards and commissions, and you know that what we're really just trying to get at is making sure you're not deliberating on a policy issue that's sitting in front of council, and you're certainly not doing that with a potential quorum of the advisory board. So even though you are on demand and kind of like on pause right now, you still have to follow those open meeting laws. Well, I thank you guys again for spending time getting acclimated with this new structure, and we're happy to answer questions now or just as they come up in the next few months.
Joe, go ahead.
Thanks, Steph. Couple questions about what you ran through there. One, how do we handle capacity or demand management? You mentioned negotiation when council tasks our commission. Are these tasks going to come one at a time? Meaning, like, we will get one task, we will all work on that one task. It will be delivered on such and such date, and then we all deliver it back, and then we're open for the next task? Or do we get multiple tasks potentially, and we negotiate when we think is realistically possible based on other tasks that we've been assigned? That's one question.
Can I answer that one before you ask the second one?
Yep.
Okay, so the real answer is, since this is new, it's not like there is a correct answer to give you. But what I would suspect is that it could work both ways. This is so brand new that I think that it's very likely that you would be assigned one task at a time, but that's TBD. The negotiation is spot on. It is that kind of thing where it's more about testing, like, well, can we have 2 more official meetings to work this out? Or are you expecting us to work this out in a small group of less than a quorum? And the negotiation might look like we don't think there's any way we can do this in 6 weeks, but we could do it in 8 weeks. So but I'm loving that Maggie is here. I'm gonna ask her to flesh it out.
I think these are really important questions, and I appreciate the candor, Steph, of like, I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way. Where I would lean into is the big picture that in this restructuring, we've been getting feedback for years from boards and committees that the communication between council is unclear. And sometimes boards have a really clear path and they're collaborating with council, and sometimes they feel like they're floundering and disconnected and working on really important stuff that council isn't in the priority realm. And so this is just trying to set up a structure of saying, so I've had committee members say, like, we worked for 2 years on something and then it fell on deaf ears at council. Well, that stinks. That doesn't feel good. And we are elected, right? And so we have a whole schema of priorities and we're working through the puzzle of advocating for them. And so we don't want folks running in a dead end direction. And so that's where this like task concept is coming up, is like, we want explicit things that are like, this is clear. And there's other times where council is given really amorphous direction, like make roads safer for bikes. That's us doing a bad job as leaders, right? That's amorphous. That's not clear. That's, the expectations are all messy there. So I think the task and timeline concept is very flexible of how this will get implemented, but the concept is like, don't give people impossible requests. Don't let this drone on for 3 years, because y'all have a lot better things to do than sitting in committee meetings that can waste your time. And we've gotten feedback that sometimes we can get into those cycles. So that doesn't give the explicit answers, but I hope that explains kind of like the ethos or the intention behind some of this structure.
And Maggie, I agree that it's really helpful to have explicit direction and times, because many of us have been on groups before or commissions where there wasn't anything clear, and you wander around and you feel frustrated. And I think this is going to help keep city council moving forward with ideas that the community believes in, and also helps us feel like we're contributing in an effective way. So I'm looking forward to it. And I think the answer that you were giving Joe was, sometimes we might have 2 or 3 different topics. If towards the end of it, I could see that. And smaller groups of, not the whole council commission, but smaller groups might be working on things that they have more focus on. And there might be something that everybody works on. I think it's going to be something we see as we go forward. And I think it's going to be a great structure. Kate?
Yeah, I have a quick question about the tasks too. So Maggie and Steph, City Council, Steph, your department, are you all at the stage where you have tasks already identified? Or are you still all getting settled too, and that those will be, coming down the line?
I think it's, and I don't know if there's a place in this presentation that shows kind of like work plans, but we are not sitting on a queue. No, I think that we're getting ourselves sorted too. And I think that there'll be a really interesting interplay between the recovery boards and these boards and commissions. So we're flying blind into the future.
Okay. And so I feel like the top down, the bottom up thing was really helpful, but I think the intention is that even though you all would be assigning tasks to us, we're all in this together. I mean, you're looking to us for our expertise or support, and that this isn't, I don't know. I would maybe think about that language a little bit. So it feels like we're not like, I don't know, that we're all on the same team, I think. And so with that, I feel, so if you all are working on a task or assign a task or a topic, and then we as a commission feel like, gosh, there's a task here that would be really helpful for you all to fulfill what your goal is, we would bring that task or that idea to either Steph or to you, Maggie, to say like, hey, I don't know if you all thought about this. Maybe this is, something we would offer to support that goal. Is that how this works?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And since I'm like a voting member and part of this team, I hope that will be fluid, that it's like, oh yeah, this is really clearly bubbling. And then it will be kind of that I can fulfill that liaisonship. And then, to be really candid, then it's a matter of like, it just depends on what the thing is. It's like, we want to do a study that costs $500,000. Like, that isn't something Maggie can just be like, no problem, we'll get the mayor to say it. Like, there might be advocacy necessary depending on what the tasks are. But I think the intention of having liaisons like myself is so that there's a communication channel and that I can be kind of carrying that to my peers.
Yeah, I
You
think
know-
that's great. And I feel like that's one of the benefits that we have as a commission for the new members. I think we're one of the only commissions that have a city council person as a member. Is that so?
There's some, but yeah, that I'm an official voting member is different than some of the others. So there's more accountability for my participation, and
Yeah,
different council people participate in different ways, but I tend to be really into it.
that's great. Thank you.
Before we go to Joe and then Ashley, I just wanted to make a comment. Kate, you and I maybe want to think about this, and Maggie, how would we, if we had several people having ideas to share, how would we funnel that rather than having Maggie get hit by all these different people and the rest of us aren't really aware of it? So we probably ought to think about that and come back
A
to it.
suggestion would be like, if there's something that warrants discussion, it could be that like we have it on this. Yeah, I don't know. Yes, we should think about that.
Yeah, we do. And I think other people are going to run into the same thing. So we need to
Yeah.
think about it. Because if we're not meeting very often, we, people are having ideas. We got to figure out how to get them up and to. Joe?
Yeah, I guess a related question. Thanks for the explanation of how this commission might receive direction or tasks and also provide suggestions to the council. And I know I'm going to learn a lot more next week when we do the orientation for the recovery boards. But maybe if I wasn't on a recovery board and anticipating that, how do the recovery boards interact or not with the advisory boards? And I assume that there's going to be a lot of overlap in sort of focus and expertise between advisory boards and recovery boards. So who's keeping an eye on sort of all the tasks that are out there and what is being worked on so that there's no duplication or overlap?
I'll take a stab at it. It's pretty much a staff question. Operationally, we do have the city clerk's office and the city manager's office that is doing a lot of coordination and managing the kind of the recovery board structure and how we kick it off. And so that's why it is very important that any of the tasks that you are given or any of the advisory boards are given is like written down and being able to put kind of on file, and people could track and make sure that we know who is doing what. So we do have a pretty good communication system for that. It may change or be improved over time, but for now it's just by having the city clerk's office and city manager's office have a copy of all those tasks.
Thank you. Ashley, I think you had your hand up.
I did, thanks. So we've kind of talked about it with the introduction of the meeting and the 3 projects or subcommittees that this commission has covered, and then leaning into the recovery board structure and how this could be a top-down or a bottom-up approach. And so I guess I'm just using this as an example, a tangible example, to try and understand the process a little bit more. So for instance, the group that was looking at the Wilma Dykeman plan, I know that there's a lot going on with like an RFP for French Broad River Parks, and then also the Infrastructure Recovery Commission. So if it seemed like it would be helpful to update the plan, is that something that we should wait for staff and recovery boards to make that recommendation, or for us to come in and suggest that? Like, that's what I'm trying to understand of more of our role and how we can support you all more.
I'll also look to answer this one a little bit. So the first thing I would say is I think it's really important to let the dust settle. I don't have a better analogy for that right now, but over the next couple months to see what the agreed upon work plans are going to be for each one of these recovery boards. So they're going to be leading the way. They're on point, kind of spearheading some things for council. And that way you can be like, is that on their work plan? Are they having this conversation? There will be chairs of these different groups chosen for the recovery board. So I think there's an opportunity for there just to be some informal discussion where people can use their humanness and connect with each other to determine where there's overlap and who should do what. So it's a great question, Ashley. But I think what you're going to need to do is just to see whether or not it's covered first, and then I'm going to answer a second question that came up as part of this. So there was a question regarding like, well, how do we make sure that it like ideas aren't just popping up from every member of the Riverfront Commission and going to Maggie and going to, different council person. Let's agree upon something right now. And that is that, you have a chair, and just like any other discussion or communication that you want to have as a board member, you're going to put everything through your chair. So if Ashley has an idea and she says, I think we should recommend that the Wilma Dykeman Riverway Master Plan be updated, she is going to email Anne, and she's going to CC me, Maggie, and Dave. So Dave is the staff liaison, Maggie is the council member, and myself as a person who actually kind of provides the connected tissue on whether or not tasks are assigned. Feel free, and I said Anne, but obviously CC Kate as well, but Anne is really holding this role of directing communication into either my bucket or Maggie's bucket. Does that sound all right for people? Does that make sense for now? Okay.
I really appreciate you offering just a clear path, even if we're still figuring it out. I just think that protocol allows us to test it and see if it works. So thanks for drilling into that. I think that'll really help people and me. So appreciate it.
Yeah, and I will say, for Maggie's benefit, Maggie, we all do. All of us get many, many emails. Maggie gets the most emails. So don't anticipate that Maggie is going to reply back directly, even though she's great at that and does. But that's what my role is for, is to catch that and to better understand. So if we need to create a digest every month to say, here's what the Riverfront Commission is thinking, we can help with that.
Yeah, I think what everyone's saying is that it's TBD in a way, because nobody's really sure how this recovery board process is going to work. But I think everything you're saying makes a lot of sense, and it's a great way for us to keep involved, to use all the strengths of everybody on this group. I mean, it's an amazing group of people, I think, and who knows how we're going to be able to help. So good. Eddie, I see that you have a raised hand.
Yeah, along those lines, if I'm trying to get up to speed or informed, I've been fairly active in URAD, understand that whole process, but things like RFPs on parks, where's that start? I mean, Steph, you just said it as it relates to like, what are people thinking? How are we communicating when we're not meeting? I'm notorious for texting the Maggie Ullmans and the Steph Dolls of the world, but I get this process and it makes sense. And for me, just being informed is a big part of it, and obviously helping where I can to network and politic that information to other people.
You're like laying me up to be able to advertise things here. The city, if you go to ashevillerecovers.org, we have links to our communication vehicles through what's called publicinput.com. The bottom line for all of this is ashevillerecovers.org. You're going to click through there and find you can sign up and subscribe to newsletters on any of these recovery topics. And if we have an RFQ that's going to be coming out for French Broad Parks recovery, we're going to send that out in our newsletter. If there's a new small business assistance grant, we're going to send that one out in our economy newsletter. So our communications and public engagement department is just right on top of all of this, but it does require you to sign up. That's the number one way to stay informed. The second piece of it, I think, is, I've been kind of soft pedaling that these meetings for recovery boards, they're going to be streamed. You can play them at 2 times speed. There's going to have agendas and action items. It might be that you guys or commission members might want to just kind of take a look every so often on some of those agendas that are important to you, like if it's people and the environment, and just say, what are they talking about? If we are going to put out an RFQ, we are going to put something in there just as informational. Maybe not like the RFQ is not every single RFQ, because by the way, we are putting out a lot of RFQs right now. But anything that's like high level, really important, resources are coming, decisions are being made, you're going to see it on those recovery board agendas first.
And Steph,
Right.
I know at least in my first year of being on a board, it took me a while to really figure out how things worked and what this commission was focused on, and the orientation was really helpful, although I probably need to go refresh myself on some of that stuff. Have all the new folks gone through the orientation? And for someone like me that probably needs a refresher, is the best place to get that stuff on the boards and commissions website?
We'll send all of the kind of orientation materials out to everyone, so that not only the new members, but the haven't been meeting that much since the storm members, all of that can access those materials. And we're happy as staff to this advisory board, even on when it's on demand, to have not special meetings with all of you. What I mean by special meeting is an advertised meeting that has to follow open meetings laws, but a different kind of lowercase special meeting where we can go through some of those orientation materials, or deeper dive, maybe, with Ann or Kate in the room, on the history of this commission and the accomplishments of this commission.
Yeah, and I'll just add on that and echo what Steph has said. I know the clerk's department generally will send out some information when you're a new commissioner. However, we know things with the board not meeting on a regular cadence as it used to, and so forth, that folks may have not gotten those, or maybe it's been years since you've been a new commissioner and have forgotten about some of the stuff. So I will send that out. But no, feel free to reach out to me at any time with questions. I'm the staff liaison to this commission. I'll gladly meet with anyone, go grab a cup of coffee. Steph saying kind of the lowercase kind of meetings, be happy to chat. Same with even just the connective tissue and connecting the dots with the city and city initiatives. So feel free to email me at any time, and I can try to connect dots for the commission members as needed. So I'll send out additional information, but look forward to connecting as we move forward. But please don't hesitate to ever reach out if you need anything.
Thank you, David and Steph and Drew, for supporting this group and getting us started again. We, I think, represent the eyes and ears of all kinds of people, and we talk to all kinds of people. So, with this group being composed of all those that are on it, we have an opportunity to hear and pass along things that could have major impacts to improve our resilience, our economy, and everything else. So, I think of us that way. We are the eyes and ears, just like the other commissions and committees are, of everybody that we interact with. And I'm glad that you're all on this group. And definitely we can have get-togethers and have coffee and get to know each other a little bit. Some of us are new members and so forth. So thank you all. If there aren't any other questions, we could entertain a move to end the meeting and wait until we get further information from the city. Joe, yes?
And if it's okay with you, would you mind if I updated this group on some of the unified RAD stuff so that could be used as context for some of our future conversations?
No, that's fine, Joe. I'm sure people will be interested in it, in a brief update about what it is, and you can always talk to individuals at more length over coffee too.
Yeah, yeah. And consider this an invite, or I'll buy coffee at Wrong Way if anybody wants to sit down for more details. But, and I know a lot of you already know about Unified Rad and what we've been working on, but just to kind of level set and bring everybody up to speed. As I mentioned, Unified Rad is kind of a coalition of stakeholders that's formed since the flood. The stakeholders are artists, business owners, residents, property owners, locals that maybe are in adjacent neighborhoods. It's also a partnership between existing organizations like RADA, which is the Artists Association, RadBiz, which is the Business Association, and Riverlink, which I think most of you know and has an office in the RAD. Since the flood, we've been focused on short-term recovery. That is basically relocation of a lot of the artists that had been displaced to places like Rad Rendezvous, which was brought online since the flood, and the Rad Outpost, which was located downtown and has since kind of come back into the Rad. And also through reactivation, through events like Rad Fest and Rad Renaissance, there was a lot of interest and concern around making sure that we kept our artists in the Rad and didn't lose them. It was something that we heard a lot from folks that went through Katrina in New Orleans, that if you lose your artists, it'll take a long time to get them back. So we've been focused on that in the short term. As far as long-term visioning and planning, we secured a grant, a $100,000 grant in partnership with Riverlink to hire a part-time administrator and an urban planning firm, Sasaki. And with Sasaki, we've conducted several in-person charrette sessions with stakeholders, and we also did a online community engagement survey that received almost 1,200 responses. We kind of presented the results of those surveys and in-person charrettes, and we will be delivering kind of the final booklet at Rad Fest next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend on the 8th, I believe, so Saturday. So we'll be in the, oh shoot, the parking lot, solar company, help me out, folks.
Pine Gate.
Okay.
Thank you. The Pine Gate Renewables parking lot. So if you want to see kind of the final outcome of that, please come to that, and we'll make it available online if you can't attend that. And if you want to get more engaged, whether you are in the Rad or just a lover and user of the Rad, you can go to unifiedrad.com. We have monthly roundtable meetings to provide updates and have discussions, kind of a neighborhood association meeting of sorts. And like I said, happy to get together one-on-one to give you more detailed updates.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, it's been a really good group to keep everybody together and to be able to get information and share and discuss. I've been to many of them. I missed the last one, but I generally go to them just so I can keep involved and aware of what's happening. And Joe has really served as an important leader and person to keep things moving too. So thank you, Joe, for all of that. Well, I think we've gone way past the time that some people thought we might, but I think it's been a very informative meeting. And again, don't hesitate to let us know if you have questions or comments or concerns or whatever, and we can get those addressed. David will help, and Steph, and so forth. So that being the situation we're in, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I thought we were going till 11. This is finishing early, isn't it?
No. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Kate, you want to move to
I said
adjourn?
so
Sure.
moved.
Before I make that motion, I have all my notes, Steve. And one of the notes I have here from the very beginning is we have an awesome commission, amazing group. So I'm really, really excited. So I want to say that before I make this motion to adjourn.
Yes.
And Maggie seconds.
Oh, thank you, Maggie. Okay, all in favor of adjourning this meeting until further notice?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? I know Joe would like to
Chair-
stay on, but the
Chair,
rest of
I'm
us,
pretty sure for process, you have to do a roll call vote when we do videos. But I mean,
Ah.
yeah, we should follow the rules. That's what you're supposed to do.
of course. Okay, I forgot about that. Thank you so much for that. Ann Phillip,
Aye.
thank you. Ashley,
Aye.
thank you. Let's see, Daniel.
Aye.
Thanks. David? No, you're not voting. David Taylor is, yes.
Aye.
Thank you. Eddie,
Aye.
Joe Balkan,
Aye.
Johanna,
Aye.
thank you. Kate, did you already? I don't think so.
Aye.
Thank you. Maggie?
Aye.
And I also say aye. Again, I so appreciate all of you, amazing people doing great things, both on and off this commission. We will stay connected, and I'm so glad you are still involved after all we've been through as a community. Amazing people. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
y'all.
you all. Appreciate it.
You'll-